Welcome to another hot and steamy day in South Florida. We had another Miami Dolphins training camp practice. I believe it's number 16. Joining me now is Miami Herald columnist Barry Jackson, who's here to break down all of the action that we saw in the joint practice against the Washington Commanders. Barry, I will tell you that my first observation from the joint practices, I actually like Jaylen Daniels. I think he was hot. He started out training camp practice hot. They started out in 11-on-11 red zones, and he was carving up the Dolphins secondary. Now, keep in mind that only Cater Kohu was the starter out there. Well, actually, that's not fair. Kendall Fuller was also a starter out there. But, 5 touchdown passes. I believe they had 2 runs by Austin Eckler. That were touchdown runs. Then we had another backup quarterback, Jack Driscoll, who threw a touchdown. That was a hot period, especially to start the practice. And Kendall Fuller said it best. He was like, yeah, we started out rough, and then we really had to rebound and respond. And they did. They played better from a defensive standpoint, but it was ugly early. They tightened up. They didn't really allow much after that, but man, that was a showing by the rookie.
Oh, my gosh. That was a red zone nightmare for the Dolphins to give up 5 touchdowns in about 10 minutes of real time. Daniels clearly is one of the top 2 quarterbacks in this draft. It's funny, going back to last December, everyone thought it would be Drake May, or at least a lot of people did. Drake May picked number 2 behind Caleb Williams. As it turned out, Daniels went second. Drake May went third to New England, where will probably sit behind Jacoby Brissett this year. And that was a smart move for Washington. Daniels looks like the total package. Now, as you said, to the Dolphins' credit, they gave him problems late in practice. Marcus May had a pick on a ball that bounced off a tight end's jersey. We also saw Kendall Fuller against his former team getting an interception late practice. But early on, it was just a debacle for Miami in red zone drills. That stood out to me today. The one other thing from today that stood out to me was I think Mike White made a stand, Omar. I think he has been underutilized, you could say, this week. He's been a non-factor for a couple of weeks. I thought he made a terrific deep throw to Malik Washington, very well-placed 42-yard ball. Malik caught it and then fumbled it. He also threw a touchdown pass today to Durham Smythe. So White's reps increased, and today was one of the few days where he outperformed Skylar Thompson, who wasn't bad. Skylar just didn't do anything, especially out of the ordinary. So this was interesting that this happened today, because I asked McDaniel earlier today what has led to his change in approach in terms of giving, we can't say who has the second team reps, but you all probably know. And he had said that the reason was he and his staff decided this year they want to change it up with the backup QBs. Instead of giving one QB second team reps one day and the other day, he wanted to give them consistently to one guy for a week, which is what we have seen this week with the guy who's trying to win the number 2 job from the guy who had the number 2 job. I have to talk in riddles because we can't break Dolphins rules. So anyway, Skylar had the edge coming in today. White made a stand today. To me, this comes down to the 2 preseason games. Unlike you, I think it is a real competition. I think Skylar Thompson is getting a fair look, and there's no way to prove this unless you and I, during the middle of the night, go in and give truth serum to Mike McDaniel and Frank Smith, and then just see what they blurt out after we ask them, is this a real competition?
It could be. It could be. I don't. Hey, I've seen this before. So I've seen this for the, going back to last season. It could be a real competition. Now, let's see if next week they give Skylar all of the second team reps. And then, to give Mike White all of the second team reps and then give Skylar the third team action. And then also let's see if it's based on who plays well in the exhibition season. Maybe whoever plays better in the game gets second team reps the next week. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to call it. I know it's really not fair to whoever's that third team quarterback just because he's out there working with slop. And let's just call it what it is. And there isn't much you can do with that. But then also, I want to make the point of there are quarterbacks that are there are receivers that are out there who are not maximizing their opportunities. Eric Uzukama is probably at the top of that list. Braylon Sanders right next to him. Here you are, both of you have talent. You're getting the opportunity to work with Tua. You're getting the opportunity to work higher end on the depth chart because of injuries or because of snap counts and opportunity limitations. And Uzukama drops a touchdown pass in the end zone. Like, you can't do that. There's so much talent there with Eric, and I just don't know why he can't pull it all out. And sometimes it's just a young player. They're feeling that pressure, and they're succumbing to the pressure. So and it could be a situation where, hey, maybe he does need a fresh start somewhere else. We've seen it. Hey, I always say when it comes to the Dolphins roster, I want to claim players. I want to claim the best of the players that you're trying to keep. I don't want to claim the first day waivers. I want to claim the second day waivers, the guys you waive because you claimed somebody and got somebody. We haven't done a good enough job as an organization finding the Zach Sealers. Yes, we did it in 2019 and found Zach Sealer, and he was the best of every acorn that you picked up off the street. But what else, Barry? What else have we found as an organization in all these years?
Well, I certainly give them credit for Needham and Kohu in terms of undrafted free agents. I want to make a point about receivers, which you just brought up. The last question to McDaniel today was something I asked, saying, is there more with Eric Ezukama that you can extract? And he said, Eric had a great day yesterday, was the fastest player on the GPS yesterday, which, of course, stunned everybody in the room because he's not known as a pure speed guy. He's physically more imposing than some of their other receivers. He said, we are pouring into him to see what we can get out of him. And unfortunately, what they got out of him today was not much because, as you said, he dropped a touchdown pass. I'm just disappointed that the young guys competing for this job, the number 6 receiver job, and it could even be 5 and 6 if Odell starts the year on PUP. I'm disappointed that they haven't brought their A game every day. You mentioned Braylon Sanders has drops. Willie Snead has dropped at least 4 passes since his signing. He's not going to be on the team. So the top contenders are Malik Washington, who had the inside track, I thought, as a draft pick this year, and Ezukama, because it seems too soon to give up on Ezukama in just his third year after the neck injury sidelined him all last year. But neither Ezukama nor Malik Washington has been consistent. Malik had the one stretch that ended earlier this week where he was pretty good, but today he had that drop after the long touchdown catch, or the long catch rather from White. They ruled it a catch. The official said he then fumbled. So neither one has seized the job. I think Malik probably gets it by default because it looks bad to give up on a draft pick this soon. But it's a shame Ezukama can't put it together because we know the physical talents are there. That to me is as big a disappointment as anything in camp so far. So a couple things stood out to me today, Omar. I like the defensive front 7 again. We saw several plays for losses or short gains. Chop Robinson again set the edge, had a tackle, even though there wasn't real tackling, but had a stop for a short gain. Brandon Pilley made a play. He's made plays now 3 straight days. Neville Gallimore was back. He had missed some practice time for personal reason. He made a play today. Jonathan Harris blew up a play on a Jaylen Daniels throw, prevented a completion with a rush up the middle. And I know Jonathan Harris intrigues you. The young guys or the young veteran guys who are competing for a backup defensive line job, Harris is one that you like, right?
The body is intriguing. I just don't necessarily know if the production is there. And maybe that's a good opportunity for him in the exhibition season. Him and Neville Gallimore and Deshaun Hand and Isaiah Mack. I think anybody who wants that job, Brandon Pilley has great opportunity now with Tier Tart being off the 53-man roster. I still think that work needs to be done on the defensive line outside of Zach Sealer and Calais Campbell. What can you really say? I can count on this being there every single game, every single week. I don't know if you know the answer to that. But I do think that there's talent there. And I think if they work in a rotation where they work in waves, I think you could make something of it. But would I add one more piece? Would I add one more player? Yes, I would. There's a report out there that the Dolphins were intrigued or in the conversation for Matthew Judon, who got traded to Atlanta for a 3rd-round pick. Obviously, that's going to have to come with a contract adjustment. But do you think something like that makes sense?
I don't, for a player in his 30s who wants a new contract. And also, the Dolphins could not have made that trade. They don't have a 3rd-round pick in next year's draft. They dealt it to Philadelphia for Jalen Wright to take him in the 4th round this year. Miami will likely get 2 compensatory third-round picks in next year's draft for losing Wilkins and Hunt, but they can't trade those picks now. So even if Miami had aggressively pursued it, they couldn't have offered a third-round pick in next year's draft. And I just don't think spending the money, even at a position where obviously they're not sure when Bradley Chubb's going to be back, you can feel confident that Chubb and Phillips, barring injuries, will be your edge rushers November, December, down the stretch. So I don't see that as a good use of allocation of money. Now, if it were a guard, right? If it were a guard, a veteran, high-quality guard who becomes available, then I say go after it.
Definitely. And I think it's, we haven't seen, in fairness, what the entirety of the offensive line will look like because, one, we've only seen them go to the ground, full contact in one game, and I think they did pretty well in that one game, especially considering they had just lost their starting center. Then you also haven't seen the line with Terron Armstead. And everybody who has watched Dolphins football for the last 2 years, we know that Terron might be on one leg, but he is a difference maker when he's out there on the field. So it'll be intriguing to see what the line looks like when he finally is cleared to play and is on the field. He was not allowed to participate in joint. It's funny. It's like he can't come out and play. He was not allowed to come out and play today in the joint practice against the Washington Commanders. But here's Terron Armstead addressing some of the growth that he's seen from some of the young players, especially a Rob Jones, who he's going to be playing next to, it seems.
And the knowledge that I still get, I try to give it back and try to explain it in a way that's easy to retain. We got a great group of young guys. We do. Every one of those young guys, I believe, will be on an NFL roster. So there's a lot of talent in that room, and they come to work the right way. We have a standard in that room. We try to fly off the ball. We try to be physical and set the pocket and pass pro. And those guys, they come live up to it every day. And it's hard in training camp. It's the hardest part of the year. So to be able to do it and put your best foot forward every day. But those guys are receiving coaching and advice, and they taking it all in stride. I love that room.
What makes you confident that Rob Jones is ready to step up and be the starter next to you?
He's proven. He's still young. But he got games under his belt against high-level talent. He's proven. He's a dog. He's physical. He's strong. He's smart. He's tough. Everything that you want in a player. I love playing next to him.
Now, can I go? You want me to
go?
Back to your students. What stood out to you about what Patrick did in the preseason opener?
His pass pro is looking really clean. He's getting he's finding his patience in his pass sets. He's long. He's 6'14", so he's able to use his length, and he's keeping his feet in the ground. Still got some things that I would want to see from him on a more consistent basis. So we're starting to see more flashes of the dominance that he has in his body, his toolbox, and that will continue to show more consistently. Pat's been great, man. He go after it every day, hard, physical. He's freaky athletic. He's tough, but then the tools that he got, the God-given, gifts that he has, to be able to use those as well. More experience, more knowledge. He'll be just fine.
I definitely agree with him. I think one of the fastest risers that I've seen in training camp has been Patrick Paul. Even though he's really exclusively going against second teamers, I would love to see him get a call up, maybe even start this game. Who knows? Put him on the line with blocking for Tua. Every moment doesn't seem too big for him right now, and he plays with a toughness and an aggression. Maybe it was just the first game, but I want to see if that carries over into Washington, because if he's pushing people around after the whistle or at the whistle,
I thought he looked good today, Omar.
Yeah,
I thought Patrick Paul looked good today. Rob Jones, I think, kind of, I don't want to say had to hand it to him, because it wasn't that dominating a performance by Jonathan Allen. But Jonathan Allen, his two-time Pro Bowler, got the better of that matchup today. That being said, I'm not worried about Rob Jones. He's not going to face a Jonathan Allen-level player every week. I liked how Rob Jones told us after practice today. He said, I've always been kind of underrated. I'm an undrafted guy, came from JUCO. He says, the fact they've left me at one position has really been beneficial for me. He's comfortable at left guard. And the question is, when will we see Isaiah win? Will we see Isaiah win? Will Rob Jones be so effective early in the season that he keeps the job? I think ultimately Wynn gets the job, but we do like Rob Jones. We do think he's a solid guy. I guess the question with Rob Jones that we might learn an answer to this year is he good enough to go into your season with him as one of your top five rather than saying he's your sixth? That is what he still has to prove at this stage of his career. He's likely going to get a chance because there's still no Isaiah Wynn. Remember, McDaniel has promised us. He has promised all of us that he's going to tell us when Isaiah Wynn is close. He hasn't told us that yet. So I guess Isaiah Wynn isn't close with the mystery ailment. And we get a lot of questions about Isaiah Wynn. All of us in the media do. We asked McDaniel specifically yesterday, is it the same quad that was injured last October? McDaniel didn't want to say. All he said is it's lower body. It appears to be some re-aggravation or something that happened with the quad that's leaving Isaiah Wynn still out. So Washington's defensive line had the better of things, I thought, by a small margin against the Dolphins' offensive line today, but it wasn't lopsided. It wasn't a disaster. And to me, Patrick Paul was the most encouraging thing on that offensive line today as far as players go.
Absolutely. I think Patrick Paul is ready to be a starter. Now, obviously, you've got two guys pretty much ahead of him in terms of Terron Armstead and then Kendall Lamb. It'll be interesting to see what happens if Terron goes down and you have to give Patrick Paul that opportunity. And I think they would, just because Kendall Lamb's already told you he's retiring at the end of this year. There is no upside to playing him outside of he's just clearly better. And at this point, I would struggle to tell you that he's clearly better than Patrick Paul. But let's talk a little bit about the offense. They had their moments, but it really fell short for me in terms of what I was watching offensively. I know Jonnu Smith was out there working, and Jonnu Smith is an important element. This is the first week that he's actually did unlimited participation, and I think part of the reason he's done that is because Tanner Connor's not healthy, and because Jody Fortson isn't healthy. So they've had to go into this week utilizing the 4 healthy tight ends that they have, and I like what I've seen from Jonnu Smith, but do you think that it could be the missing ingredient for this offense, Barry?
I do. And there was one interesting thing they've been doing with Jonnu that they've done a lot in practice. It's been widely reported, so we're not giving away any secrets. We'll just tell people they've run the ball with Jonnu Smith a handful of times. We're not going to say how the plays were designed or anything. All of those plays have been successful until today's. Today's was bottled up by Washington's defense, but that's an element that a lot of people didn't know would be coming with Jonnu Smith. But I think he's going to be your third receiver as a tight end early in the season. We can't expect Odell Beckham to be a big factor early in the year, and I'm comfortable with that. To me, the body of work with Jonnu Smith, even though he wasn't great in New England, wasn't the ideal fit there. He came back and played well in Atlanta, obviously, after having success at Tennessee early in his career. I think as your number 3 passing game option, along with Mostert or Ashan early in the season when Odell might still be out, I think that should be good enough. We'll see. But I think he was as big an addition as anyone they added this offseason. To me, biggest additions were Jonnu Smith. I don't want to say Odell yet because we haven't even seen him. Jordan Brooks, Kendall Fuller, in whatever order. Fuller gives him a solid reliable order. Oh, and Calais. You're absolutely right. Yeah, excuse me. Forgot Calais. Your guy. You were lobbying for him for months and months. Those 4 to me were the biggest offseason pickups. And all of them, I think, other than Odell, who we haven't seen, all of them, I think, have been good so far. Calais, as you said, struggled early in camp, has really come on in recent weeks. Kendall Fuller with a pick to end practice today. He's had a good camp. Jordan Brooks is around the ball a lot, which we knew. So far, the returns have been pretty encouraging on the offseason additions, except for Aaron Brewer, who had snapping issues, and now he's hurt, but we don't want to judge him too quickly. So offensively, it wasn't a great day. Too, it wasn't awful. He wasn't great. He was just sort of there. There were some effective runs. We saw Jalen Wright with his speed and his cutting ability again. How was this for you offensively today?
Savon Amed. I was impressed with what I saw from Savon Amed. I was impressed with what I saw from the running game, and that's encouraging, especially when you're going against a Washington defensive line as forceful as they were. Receivers. Now, obviously, Tyreek is cherry picking when he participates in practice. That's just what it is. And Jalen Waddle was not practicing; he was doing full length of the field sprints. So clearly, this is more of a situation where he's not going to miss the season opener, but he's got work to do to get himself ready for the season. And yeah, I am a little bit worried about who is that number 3 weapon, but I think at some point this team will figure it out, and they've got enough weapons to carry the load for the first month of the season until Odell Beckham gets ready. Here's Raheem Mostert.
And don't sleep. I have one more thing to say that we're going to get to the Raheem Mostert sound. Do not sleep on River Craycraft. I'm telling you, the guy's had a great camp. Of course, he's not the most talented receiver in the history of the Miami Dolphins. He's caught everything. He caught a touchdown again today. Don't sleep on River Craycraft. Now, sorry to interrupt you. You were going to have some quality sound from Raheem Mostert.
Raheem Mostert, talking about the differences that you're going to see from this Dolphins offense.
Many details, obviously. How do you think the offense is going to be different now? Adding Jonnu, obviously having another fast running back. The way Mike has evolved. Will there be many differences?
Yeah, there should be quite a few differences. We've had Durham in the past and other tight ends that made key impacts, but to get a guy like Jonnu come in and do yards after catch is unbelievable. He's pretty fast as well for a tight end. And he could block on the edge, and he's not afraid to get a little dirty. So when you got guys like that, man, it takes his game to a whole nother level, and I can't wait to see what he could bring to the table. And I've been a big fan of his, just watching from afar, seeing all the type of things that he's been able to do. So.
Yeah, they've got a ton of weapons. I'm fine with where they are as long as a guy like Jonnu Smith doesn't, or Raheem Mostert, or Savon Amed, they don't suffer a setback. I think you're fine with whatever your number 3 weapon is on the team. Barry, here's something I want to address because we talked a little bit about Savon Amed, and I like some of the runs that he showed. In my opinion, there are about 5 or 6 guys who I can clearly identify. Hey, you're on the bubble. This isn't guaranteed that you're going to make this roster. And some of them have been long-standing Dolphins players like Savon, who's played for this organization for 4 years. I want you, Barry, to share with me your 5 players that you think are on the roster bubble heading into the August 27th cut down day.
I got about a dozen, but I'm going to try to limit it to more than that. Or
I'll take your dozen.
To me, Ahmed gave himself a fighter's chance today. We had seen very little of him for the last couple of weeks. He's been dealing with a foot injury, had a couple of good runs today. We know his value on special teams. You reminded us of that yesterday. And to me, Chris Brooks, who I've been a big advocate for weeks on this show, where you've had to try to talk me out of being such a big Chris Brooks fan, to me, he's kind of lost something in the last couple of weeks. He's got lost in the shuffle. We haven't seen the skills that make you think, okay, we absolutely have to keep this guy. Yes, he's talented. So to me, that's become more of an interesting competition as your number 5 running back if you keep one. I would have told you 3 days ago that it was Brooks without question. Now I say Savon Amed has a real chance. You've always favored Ahmed in that, right? Because of the special teams ability?
Yeah, no, Chris Brooks does a hell of a job of special teams as well. To me, and certainly I know that you need a power back in this offense. Problem is, I don't think Mike McDaniels knows that he needs a power back in this offense, and that's Chris Brooks's role. To me, at this point, when you're at that back end of the roster, I look at it from the standpoint, special teams coach, he needs to have five picks. He needs to have top selection of 5 players that he wants on his team because he needs them for his unit. I don't know where Brooks or Savon Amed would stand in that argument. I'm pretty sure that Elijah Campbell is pretty high on his list, so that you have to think that guy's safe. I'm pretty sure Cam Smith, who played the gunner role last year, is pretty high on his list, so you got to keep that guy safe. Maybe even Ethan Bonner. But in terms of the running back, I can't call it, Barry, because you've got 6 running backs who probably belong on an NFL roster. I'm sure 1 or 2 are going to be back here on the practice squad. But who's it going to be? And Savon Amed, he's behind everybody else because he's been battling that foot injury. And now he's actually cleared, I think. But these 2 preseason games, they got to be pivotal for his survival in the NFL.
Same foot that you injured last November that had you in something of a boot the last couple of weeks?
No, just being, just taking care of it, doing the right things and making sure, there's a process of getting back out there for sure.
How's it feeling?
It's feeling good, man. It's feeling good. It feels good to be back out there.
Good.
It feels good to be back out there with the guys.
Do you think you have everything back in terms of burst? We saw the long run today.
Yeah, definitely. It's coming back. It's a long summer, just, working your way back. So it felt good to be out there.
What do you feel like you add to this stable of running backs that they have?
Just a guy that's going to be there, first and foremost, a great teammate, and not only to the running back. There's a lot of bugs over here. Not only a great teammate in the running back room, a great teammate overall to the team. It's someone that's going to not only just to the running back room, what I can have, but someone that's just going to do what it takes to be anything to make the team successful. Whether that's anything that they ask of me. So a guy that's willing to do whatever it takes for the team to win.
What's the secret to that running back room where you guys are supportive of one another, you guys cheer one another on, you guys coach up one another? What makes you guys so unique?
Love, man. It's love. I think we all, genuinely got a lot of love for each other and definitely want to see each other succeed. So I don't think that's normal in every single room. Obviously, we compete, but I think there's a lot of love that people obviously wouldn't, you can't see from outside looking in because you're not in the meetings every day and here every day. So it's love, and we just want each other to succeed in any way possible.
What was your reaction when you found out that they were drafting Wright?
Oh, man, I'm happy for him. That's dope, man. I'm happy he's here. And he's working hard. He's out there making plays every single day. He had a great preseason game. And so he's out there working hard like you guys see, making plays. So I'm happy for him, man.
But personally, was there any consideration? I mean, that's one more guy you're competing against.
That's just part of the job. It's part of the job. There's always going to be someone younger. Everybody gets older, so there's always going to be someone younger. So like I said, I'm happy for him, man. He's doing really good. He's out here working hard. He's learning from us. Like I said, I'm still learning from guys like Raheem and everything like that. So, it's awesome to have him there.
Yeah, definitely. That running back competition is going to be interesting. I think a lot of it's going to come down to what happens in these final 2 exhibition games. It looks like Savon is working to get cleared to play. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case, but c'est la vie. What will be, will be. You said you got 12 guys, Barry. Let me give you some of my
number 2. I'm going to go number 2 on the list is Fortson versus Tanner Connor's number 4 tight end. My prediction is neither makes it. Tanner Connor was headed toward making this team with what really been a very good first 3 weeks. Had 3 catches for 70 yards in the exhibition opener against Atlanta last week, then got injured, what appears to be a rib injury. He hasn't participated in the last week. I think that makes it likely he will go to the practice squad yet again. Fortson just hasn't shown enough. He had one good day a week ago Monday where he had 5 catches and a touchdown, suffered a stinger in the Falcons game. He's been out this week. He participated some today, but was limited. So I think he does not make it. You don't think they need a 4th tight end? I also think they could get away without a 4th tight end and instead either keep a 5th running back, whether it's Brooks or Ahmed, or maybe another offensive lineman, or maybe they just keep another corner or a safety instead. So I'm fine without tight ends. What to you emerges from – I got 5 bubble guys for you. What emerges among Deshaun Hand, Isaiah Mack, Brandon Peely, Jonathan Harris, Neville Gallimore? You would think 2 of those make it behind Calais Campbell, Zach Sealer, and Benito Jones. Do you think maybe 3 make it? I didn't mention Leonard Payne, the rookie from Colorado USC, or Robert Cooper, the former Florida State player, because they're ultimate long shots. So of those 5 veterans, which 2, Hand, Mack, Peely, Harris, Gallimore, make it? Very tough call.
I definitely think Hand makes it. Mac, I'm very intrigued by, but I think I could practice squad it. Gallimore and Harris, I think, make it. And then Benito Jones, I think he's definitely on. Hopefully he's healthy and the injuries that he's battling isn't something significant. And to me, so I'm at 6 defensive linemen, maybe even 7.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah. Brandon Peely's made a case. Credit to Brandon Peely. He has given the Dolphins something to think about. He's a big body. He's a natural backup nose behind Benito Jones. I think he might get edged out by one of these veterans, but he's going to have 9 to 10 more days to make his case. Make the most of it, Brandon Peely.
Absolutely. It smells like practice squad to me. I'm not worried. Again, Barry, I keep saying this all week. I'm not worried about cutting anybody and having anybody claim them, because what have I lost over the years? Benito Jones is the best thing I've lost over the years. I'll eventually get my get my chance to get a comeback. It's fringe talent, and that's the one thing I gotta admit about what I'm watching here in this Dolphins roster. Last year I complained about the depth on this team. I just thought it was very piss poor, and it really didn't surface until late in the season. This year, I don't necessarily have an issue with the depth. I have more of an issue with the age and durability of it. So that means if you have an issue about the age and durability, everybody's on the snap count, everybody's on a maintenance program, and that means everybody's going to have to step up and perform at a high level. And so you got to be worried about your weak links. And to me, if I'm looking at the weak links on this Dolphins roster right now, it starts with nose tackle, then it moves to the edge position. Even though Jalen Phillips is on his way back and probably will play in the season opener, he's probably going to be on the snap count. I saw Bradley Chubb today and Cameron Good today working out and training early in the morning. They look probably about a month away from getting into the mix, like Jalen Phillips. And then cornerback, Barry, cornerback. And I can't say this enough. I don't feel comfortable there. And I don't feel comfortable there from the standpoint of when you begin a joint practice, and yes, it was red zone work, and yes, it was a talented first-round pick in Jaylen Daniels, but he was carving them up. And it wasn't just the cornerbacks, it was a safe. And in his defense, Cam Smith was not a victim. So
yes, Cam Smith had a good play in coverage today. This was a good day for Cam Smith. And remember, no Ethan Bonner today. I'm not overly concerned just because no Ramsey, no Ethan Bonner, no Holland, no Poyer, none of those four today. I want to see Ethan Bonner when he comes back from the concussion symptoms. I want to see how he does in extended game time. Probably not this week, but maybe the game in Tampa if he's well enough next week. I just don't know that we have enough information to tell us the kids can't play to go out and sign a veteran.
I don't necessarily need to sign a veteran. What I need to do is feel comfortable that if something happens to one of those starters and you got to play with one of the backups on the field for a month, that your defensive look and your defensive play isn't going to drastically drop off. Let's say you got to play for a month without Kendall Fuller. Are you comfortable enough with what you're seeing from Ethan Bonner and Cam Smith to say no worries? Or if one of the safeties goes down, Jordan Poyer can't come back from that thumb injury. Are you comfortable enough with what you have on your roster whenever you make that 53-man decision to say we will be fine for that month duration? And I don't know if I'm at that point yet where I'm comfortable enough, because
I almost think you have to take it into game action in the regular season, Omar. I know that's risky, but if God forbid Kendall Fuller, Jalen Ramsey gets injured against Jacksonville or Buffalo, I almost think you need to give Bonner and Cam Smith snaps in a regular season game. And if it's an unmitigated disaster, then you go beg Xavier Howard or someone, whoever is out there in mid-September, to join your team. He wouldn't be on your team in week 1, so he wouldn't be guaranteed for the full season. To me, if Bonner's concussion doesn't allow him to get reps next week against Tampa in the joint practice or in the game, I think you have to take us into the regular season. I wouldn't panic sign a corner, even though everyone knows you need corners, because then you get into a numbers issue. Then you're going to, what are you going to keep 7 corners? I mean, Bonner's going to be on your team regardless. You're not giving up Cam Smith. Kohu's going to be on your team. He's your top nickel. That's 3. You got Ramsey, obviously, as a starter. You have Fuller as your other starter. That's 5. Nita maybe would be a 6th. Maybe one of the undrafted rookies. They're all facing long odds. And then you have Saran Neal. I don't want to say you're stuck with Saran Neal, but remember, he's a core special teams player on a unit that just lost Cam Brown for the season, the former Giants special teams core player. So to me, you're going to be in a mess where you're going to have too many corner bodies. You're going to have to keep, if you go out now and sign a veteran corner, I think you have to take this into the regular season and keep your fingers crossed that if one of your starters is injured, that either Ethan Bonner or Cam Smith will go in the game against Jacksonville or Buffalo or at Seattle in week 3 and prove competent. And if they're not, then you scramble on the waiver wire. You call every veteran free agent who hasn't signed with a team and deal with it then. That would be my approach. I know it's risky, Omar. Is it too risky? Am I being too risky in handling
No, you're not. You're not, especially when you're probably going to keep 2 of these undrafted rookies and pretend like they're really good at what they do, and you continue to invest in them. So let me give you another name, Barry, that we can throw on the hopper in terms of guys on the hot seat. Lester Cotton. Are you buying Lester Cotton as a potential starting right guard?
I think he's the best available, right? They needed the best available Cotton or something. I don't know. He's the best available player on the roster for that job. I would go out, as I've told you, and look for a veteran guard in the trade market, even if it costs you $6 to $8 million. If it's a guy that you know will give you high, see only a conditional 5th or a 6th next year, And that's not to say Lester Cotton's been bad. It's just to say I feel like you need an upgrade at that position, unless you think that Brewer's going to be healthy for the season opener, and then you just give Liam a chance at right guard. But even then, I'd still be open to an upgrade. You are not too worried, because I know your motto going through life and everything you do in life is in Butch Barry we trust.
In Butch Barry,
right?
I trust. Yes. I can't ignore what Butch Barry did last season. I thought it would be a mitigated disaster. It wasn't. They actually did well, thrived, and despite being in pandemic-like situations late in the season, they made it through. It wasn't an absolute eyesore. Yes, it didn't help you in stretches in the fourth quarter of critical games like Tennessee game, like Buffalo game. They were a problem. However, they didn't sink your season, and I've been here and covered this Dolphins team where offensive lines have sunk Dolphin seasons. So, let me give you one more, and we talked about this earlier this week. Nick Needham. I would tell you that Nick is probably my number one bubble guy, because I don't know what to do with it. I don't know if I feel comfortable with it at safety. I don't know if it's good enough at cornerback. I don't know if it helps me. He helps me enough on special teams. Is Nick Needham in trouble here, Barry?
Yeah, I don't think it certainly makes the team by any means. I could make the case, though, to save a spot on offense to keep Needham around, just because he can help you at two positions. Now that he's done a lot of safety work this offseason, he's still your top backup nickel, which is an important job. If Kader Kohu goes out, you don't want to necessarily have to move Ramsey inside, even though he would be great at it for the entire game. So to me, that is the value of having Nick Needham, the versatility, the experience, and being your top nickel. If you have to keep only 4 running backs and get rid of both Ahmed and Chris Brooks to keep Nick Needham as your 6th corner and 5th or 6th safety, I would do it. I would certainly do it over keeping number 4 tight end at this point, because there's just no need to keep Tanner Connor Fortson when they've been injured. So, yes, I see value in Needham. I keep him, but I'm not 100% convinced he stays.
Gotcha. All right. On that note, you have been watching Dolphins in Depth. We appreciate you liking and subscribing and continuing to listen to the production that we're producing from the Miami Herald. I want to thank Pierre for being the producer of the show. And on that note, Barry, we are out, and we will see you after Saturday night's game against the Washington Commanders.